So as far as October goes, and as far as horror movies go, one of my all-time favorites is the Douglas McKeown 1982 picture, The Deadly Spawn, also known as Return of the Aliens, Deadly Spawn. And I often have kind of seen it here and there in different circles being sort of somewhat compared to the picture, the Abomination, which was filmed several years later. And basically the point of comparisons come down to the fact that both are low budget and both are about otherworldly demonic beasts who don't have eyes, who are kind of worm-like and have lots of sharp teeth. Those are sort of the two things. Oh, and I guess the fact that both are super gory as well. Those are, like, I guess the things that tend to draw a lot of people to compare both of them. But I guess to me they kind of represent two very different kinds of horror. The Deadly Spawn, well, okay, so first of all, The Deadly Spawn, I believe, was shot in 16 millimeter, whereas I think The Abomination was Super 8. I think. I'm pretty sure. I'm like, don't quote me on that, but it was shot on some kind of stationary video or something. And then also, The Deadly Spawn, it takes, I mean, both are regional in their own ways, but I think The Deadly Spawn, I'm pretty sure that's like a New Jersey set story, and The Abomination, I'm like fairly certain that was Texas. It's been a long time since I've seen The Abomination, but there's a lot of things about it that I remember. So I've watched The Deadly Spawn way more often than The Abomination, but I actually did appreciate and like The Abomination for what it did. But yeah, when I mentioned that both are very different kinds of horror, I kind of say that in multiple ways. Like, The Deadly Spawn is kind of based more on contemporary qualities and has more specific, more sophisticated creature designs. The Deadly Spawn, in comparison to, The Abomination, in comparison to The Deadly Spawn, is that is much more contained, much more claustrophobic, much more imposing. It's dirtier, and it also is, there's more of an emphasis on rot, disease, viral infection, parasitic, mucus, slime, things like that. That's kind of more what The Abomination is focused on. I would also say that The Abomination is more about, I guess, how tradition can kind of become like a trap, and how the traditions of the characters are more or less what lead them to the kind of apocalyptic scenario that occurs at the end, where everybody's getting ripped to shreds, essentially. The Abomination, both films are pretty anti-human as far as how the events of the films go, but I would say The Abomination is more personal, more sort of character-based, more character-focused, and I would say in some ways more tragic. Although The Deadly Spawn has its own weight as far as tragedies go. I would say the family in The Abomination is more or less a victim of their unquestioning faith and loyalty, whereas the domestic setting in The Deadly Spawn, even though there are hints of it being somewhat more old-fashioned and contemporary and conservative, you get the sense that the family in that movie, in The Deadly Spawn, is much more open-minded and much more accepting of whatever their son or the main character is doing and what they're up to. The Abomination, the main character is pretty much completely psychologically arrested, whereas in the Deadly Spawn, the main character is young and creative and smart. And so the Abomination, the feeling that movie has is one of desperation. The Deadly Spawn, it's kind of more of a triumphant film where the characters, they do take chances, but those chances more often than not pay off. They don't always pay off. There are characters that die in the film unexpectedly and who don't deserve it. I would say the Deadly Spawn, to me, was the more shocking of the two. Mostly because of that whole sequence with the vegetarian luncheon. But also just because it surprised me more. The series of events and everything that happens in it and the way it unfolds is more unpredictable to me. Whereas in the Abomination, you could tell that the lo-fi filmmaking quality really didn't lend a whole lot of room for creativity beyond what was more or less already present in the picture itself and in the script and in the design and in the presentation, like as far as like the visuals and stuff. Like there's not a whole lot to the Abomination, but what there is in the movie works pretty well as far as like intense types of macabre horror and all that stuff. So I do still prefer the Deadly Spawn, but I could see how some folks could really, really go for the Abomination, and also how the Abomination could probably resonate more personally with some people. The Deadly Spawn resonated more with me personally because it managed to capture that domestic setting a lot more starkly and in a way that I felt brought, I guess, a greater sense of sincerity and authenticity. Like those opening scenes in the Deadly Spawn where the characters are waking up in the morning, you know, like after the pre-credit sequence, of course, with that whole camping thing that happens at the beginning, like the way the characters wake up and the process of them getting up and the way the film uses time, and it tends to extend time more. That was something that I found pretty resonant, frankly, when I was younger. And even now watching it, I don't know, it tends to bring back the same kinds of feelings. And I remember I even wrote about this stuff in a review, which I've been looking for like crazy. I know I have it in one of my files somewhere. I know I printed out a copy, but I haven't been able to find it. It might be somewhere in my barn, but I remember I posted a review, and the director of the Deadly Spawn himself, Douglas McKeon, actually reached out to me and thanked me for sort of recognizing some of these qualities, like, and as far as like the way the passage of time is presented. So like that's something that I'm always going to sort of be thankful for, because now that he's passed away, it's just kind of one of those things that, you know, I'm glad that he sort of got to kind of see my appreciation of that picture a little bit, you know, before that happened. So, but I think, overall, both are great, but I prefer the Deadly Spawn overall as a movie. And that's pretty much it. That's about all I have to say. See you later.